welcome to Up Close with Carlos Sang, celebrating art, entertainment, and the human spirit. Welcome to another episode of Up Close with Carlos Sang. My next guest is a hugely acclaimed musical theatre star. He has previously been seen in shows such as From Here to Eternity, The Since You Have Come. He is now currently reprising Lun Tha in The King and I. He is also an amazing vocal coach and fitness coach as well. It's a huge privilege to be able to introduce the one and only Dean John Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me. Firstly, you're very kind to say all of those lovely things. I really do appreciate it.
They're very true as well at the same time. I got to see you in The King and I at the Palladium back in 2018. When you finished playing the role back then, did you feel like you were done with the show, or was there still more you wanted to explore here?
Absolutely not. With every role that I am so fortunate to play, I always feel like every performance is a rehearsal for me. I never ever feel like, I always just feel like there's always more room to grow. I find new things every single night, and I'm still finding new things reprising the role on tour. You know, different audiences, different people's energies. So when I finished it at the Palladium, I knew there was definitely more to give and more to find with Lun Tha. I feel like even though he is only on stage for a fraction of the show, I do feel like he is such a complex character, and I do feel like you do have to do a lot of kind of backstory work with that. I mean, he gets two beautiful, lovely songs in the show, but I do feel like in terms of his character and the narrative that you want to portray, for it to come across as authentic as possible and as honest as possible, you do have to, do a lot of that kind of background work. So yeah, in answer to your question, I felt like I didn't want to leave it, and I was desperate to get back to doing it, and especially doing it across the country and telling this timeless story to a broader audience up and down the country of the UK. It's such a privilege.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, do you feel like you're approaching the role and the show differently to when you did it in 2018?
I do, yes. I mean, that was now what, 5 or so years ago. I think with any role that you do, if you approach it again for a second or third time, you get the chance to do that. I feel like as humans, we grow with experience, and we bring our life, especially for me as an actor, I tend to try and bring a lot of my life experiences to the roles that I play, and try and personalize performances. Anyone who's a member of the VCA who's listening in right now will know that I'm a huge advocate for personalizing performances using the Sanford Meisner technique, which is something that is key for him and his practice to finding true authenticity and honest performances.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that Annalene Beachy has, of course, also just come back to the show as well on tour. How has it been, working together again and, discovering this show again together?
Wonderful. She's such a breath of fresh air, and it was an absolute privilege to work with her back at the Palladium, and then to find out that she was coming back to reprise her role for a short time. It really was just wonderful news.
Yeah, of course. And Bartlett Sher, of course, is one of the most renowned directors, and the production received huge acclaim on Broadway and at the Palladium too. What was it like, working with Bart, and why do you think he is so well respected in the industry?
You're absolutely right. He is, one of the most acclaimed directors in the industry to date. Again, what an absolute honor it was to work with him and alongside him. He's such a collaborative director. He gives creative license for you to put stamps on these roles. Lun Tha has been done several times across the globe, and I do feel like when working with someone like Bart, he does allow creative license, and it's such a collaborative effort, and he's so intelligent. And he's just a real genius, and he knows the piece inside out, and he knows what works and what doesn't, and he'll tell you what doesn't work. And he'll also tell you what does work as well, which is really great. Again, just a breath of fresh air, and it's really great to work with someone of that caliber.
Yeah, I feel like Rodgers and Hammerstein are also, sort of coming back into fashion. You've got Oklahoma, doing very well in the West End. Sound of Music is heading to Chichester. There was a big revival of South Pacific recently too, and of course you did Cinderella at Cadogan Hall, which I also went to see.
Mm.
What do you think is, the enduring appeal of Rodgers and Hammerstein?
It's definitely the music. I mean, just for example, this show, for anybody who's listening who has not seen the film, has not seen the musical, or doesn't really know it, I think the music is something that has been ingrained into our bodies and into our world from being a child, and everyone falls in love with that music as soon as you hear the overture. They strike up that orchestra and you hear that first chord, the March of the Siamese Children, and I Have Dreamed, We Kiss in the Shadow, Shall We Dance, all of these great classic tunes. You just know that they're there. So I feel like everyone's first love, or kind of who don't quite know The King and I, they know the music immediately. And I feel like, Rodgers and Hammerstein write an absolute great tune. It's great melody. It's wonderful to sing as a vocalist. Yeah, I feel like the music is definitely at the forefront of everything.
Yeah, I do. I'm a huge Rodgers and Hammerstein fan, and I feel like for some people, Rodgers and Hammerstein, they can that whole golden age sound is sometimes seen as not as cool or as edgy as some of the more contemporary stuff. Do you feel like there's still a place for these sorts of musicals in today's society?
Absolutely. Like I said at the beginning of this call, the stories are absolutely timeless. Everyone can relate to them, and I do think it's time for Rodgers and Hammerstein and these legit classic musicals to come back to tours across the country, for people who can't make it to the West End for whatever commitment, or bring it to the West End, or just bring it back to theatre. Because whilst I absolutely love a contemporary jukebox musical, as much as anyone, I do have a soft spot for legit musical theatre because it's where I started. And yeah, I guess with the time, everyone's kind of moving more towards a contemporary, more relatable piece of musical theatre. But I do think, the timeless classic musical theatre shows are making a comeback.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get to sing, two of the most beautiful songs in the show, We Kiss in the Shadow and I Have Dreamed. Um, what were these songs, songs that you were particularly drawn to, and do you enjoy singing such romantic material too?
I do. I love a ballad, as everyone who's listening probably knows. I do love a ballad, and the way that Rodgers Hammerstein wrote these melodies are just absolutely stunning. They really, really are, and they do hugely complement the orchestrations. I've Dreamed, for example, wasn't actually a song that I've ever sung at drama school. A lot of the guys there did sing that song. I just didn't, and I got into it a little bit later on in my career, actually. But yeah, every single night that I go out there and do it, I always find something new with it. But it just feels, I don't know, just so thrilling to be able to have that huge sound behind you, the orchestra, and then be able to kind of sing that wonderful melody over the top. It's just so thrilling. It really is.
Absolutely. And what is it about the story which you think is still resonating with audiences today?
Yeah, I mean, in layman's terms, if you strip everything back, the costumes, the sets, and take yourself out of 1862, it is essentially just a single parent woman, who is struggling to make ends meet just to try and raise her child, and in the process, she ends up completely changing the traditions of Siam, of the king, of an entire culture about love, about respect, about that mutual understanding. That's basically it in real layman's terms. And I do feel like nowadays there are a lot of struggling single parents out there who would absolutely hugely be able to relate to something like this, and they'll be deeply moved. I mean, for myself, I was born and raised into a single parent family, and my mum has literally been there for me, been my rock paper and scissors throughout much of my life. And when she saw it, she said the exact same thing. If you strip everything back, take the costumes away and the grandeur of it and the kind of opulence of it, on a simple level, it is exactly that. And that really resonated with me. And that's the reason why I brought it to the table today.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like a lot of these, golden age sort of shows, like they're written in a way which is, very different to the way that musicals are written today. Do you feel like, we'll ever see, a comeback of, shows, written with like a large orchestra in mind, with like, romantic numbers too?
I think so, yes. I mean, what an absolute privilege it was to do something of this caliber in the West End. I'd absolutely love to do more Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff, like 100%. And I do feel like there is a huge gap in the musical theatre market for it. We have the theatres, we just now need the producers to produce these shows and put them in, because they will sell and they will resonate with audiences across the globe. And yeah, we'll put some smiles on many people's faces.
Yeah, I know you're also a very passionate vocal coach, as you mentioned. You established VCA back in 2015. Were you always
Mm.
interested in, teaching and coaching too?
Yeah, ever since I left Mountview, quick story because I do know I do like to waffle a little bit for anybody who knows me. When I left Mountview, I had a huge passion for learning to play the piano. I taught myself and I did a lot of rep stuff with some of the students at Mountview, and I didn't really think too much of it. And then I really got into kind of the sciences behind the voice, especially using the still technique, which is what I learned at Mountview. Started coaching people from there. Back in 2015, the brand VCA, aka Voice Coach Academy, was formally named. And then when the pandemic hit, we took everything completely online. We now are global. We coach people in America, Australia, Vietnam, Chicago, Canada, like up and down the country, Wales, Scotland, Ireland. We are global now, and it's only getting better. And it's such a rewarding job to do, to be able to give back to aspiring performers, trying to get themselves an agent, to put them in front of casting directors, to land them West End jobs, touring jobs, which just yesterday I found out that one of my long standing students has just landed Aladdin. I can't say who they are, but and they've landed such an incredible pivotal role in the show. And it is just an absolute blessing. And it was really great to kind of go back to that Aladdin material and really, really help them out. Yeah, we've had students land touring jobs, West End jobs. We've even had a student perform at 54 Below that they got invited over to sing kind of off Broadway with Drew Gasparini, which was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and then to date now, whilst I'm on tour, I Mondays and Fridays and sometimes weekends, I'll coach in between the show around the country. I'll take my laptop with me, my iPad, and yeah, I'm in constant touch with all of my members to ensure that they are progressing in the way that I feel like they should be. And it is, like I said, the reason why I do it is it's so rewarding to, have my members experience some of the experiences that I've been really, really privileged to have had in the industry, and just see their faces light up. And especially when they first come on board and they're like, actually, I can't do it. There's so many people doing it. This person's better than me. That person's doing this. That person's got that agent. That person's that. And it's literally nothing to do with that. It's literally about, you as a person, how approachable you are. Obviously your talent, but your work ethic and your level of proactivity. And that's what I really try and instill and build people's confidence to get in the room and show the best version and best vocal version of themselves in the room. But it's been really, really successful. And that's the VCA.
Yeah, I mean, did you have a, coach yourself when you were an aspiring performer? Did you have that mentor, someone guiding you too?
Yeah, to date now, I still do have several mentors, several coaches. I have a business coach, I have a fitness coach, I have a vocal coach. I also have an acting coach as well. I do feel like this sounds really cliche, but I feel like the word cliche is just an overused version of the truth. But the best people in the world, or the who are at the top of their game, all have coaches. So it's never. I just feel like there's a huge pride thing with, oh, I don't need a coach, I won't do it, I'll just kind of do it myself. And I was like that for a long time. And when I decided to kind of step out of my comfort zone and hire a coach for whatever avenue that is, everything just seemed to be not easier because I still do the work and I'm still going to be proactive, but everything just seemed to just soar and kind of, it was like an abundance mindset. Everything just kind of started coming to me. Jobs. I mean, not coming to me because I was working really, really hard, but things just started to happen. So yeah, I do still have coaches, and I really do advocate them.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you're also very known for your physical health too. I know you did a lot of like physical, fitness coaching too. Were you also, always really interested in, fitness? And is it hard, staying in shape whilst you're on the road and performing?
Yeah, I mean, I was always the smallest guy in school growing up. I'm not the tallest of people. 5'10", but my CV says 5'11". But yeah, no. So I decided when everyone started to shoot up and get taller and stuff, I decided to start training really, really early just because I wanted to bulk out. I love it. And it's not now, over the last I've been doing it now for the last 15 years, really. But for now, it's not really about the muscles or getting lean or anything like that. I mean, whilst that is good, it's, it feels good, and it's good to look, it's good to feel good for me on holiday with my shirt off and whatnot. It's more for my mental health. It's like if I left the house without brushing my teeth, I just would feel horrendous. You know what I mean? I like to be kind of active all the time. I like to keep fit, whether it's running, whether it's cross training, whether it's, lifting weights, eating well. And I do feel as well, as a coach and as a performer, I can't give my best, the best of my ability from an empty vessel. And I feel like if I put good food in my body, have good, adequate sleep, I train well, I try and keep a positive mindset. And yeah, I feel like that there, I'm then able to kind of give back and be the best that I can be for other people and for my auditions that come up and my input in shows as well.
Yeah. I mean, how do you stay motivated too?
Well, here's the thing. There's this misconception with motivation because motivation is doing the things when you feel like it. A lot of people just think that I'm motivated all the time, and I'm really, really, really not. I'm committed. Commitment is doing the things that you said you would do long after the mood in which you said them has passed. So again, it's all about discipline. When motivation, because motivation comes every couple of weeks, you feel, oh my gosh, yes, that's a new training regime. That's it's a new restaurant. That's a new piece of food. Actually, you look in the mirror and you go, oh my gosh, I feel really crap about myself, or I feel really good about myself. That gives me some motivation to spur myself on and do that, or that person's doing this. Whatever that is in your life, motivation comes and goes. Discipline is doing the things that you should be doing, regardless of how you feel. So, for example, I do a lot of cold therapy as well. So I jump in cold showers and cold plunges. I might make them look easy. They're not easy. Every single morning that I do one, I'm dreading it. I'm breathing heavy. I'm like taking, my time with it. It's hard. It's really, really hard. But, if you start the day, which is something I always say, start the day with doing hard things, the rest of the day seems pretty easy. But if you start the day really easy and lazy and you don't wake up until 1:30, 2 o'clock, which we've all done, the rest of the day feels like a little bit of a drag. Yeah. So I always say do hard things for an easy life, easy things for a hard life. So yeah, motivation comes and goes. Yeah. So I don't always feel motivated.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, like, obviously you're very passionate about coaching. Do you ever see yourself, going completely full time with that and, leaving, giving yourself a break with the performing?
I feel like I can absolutely do both in the way that I'm doing it at the moment, because we have an app right now with so many courses and so many, tips and techniques and vocal stuff and acting through sound stuff inside of our very own VCA app that offsets a lot of the workload for me. So I can really focus on my one-to-one coaching. I can absolutely do both. I do feel like it's a full-time job, but I also feel like the show is also a full-time job. I'm also a business coach as well. So I do coach coaches to basically run successful online companies. Much like myself, I'm currently coaching a couple of vocal coaches, and it's basically the exact same blueprint as to what I've done. And I really champion that you can do both. you can run an online business and be in the industry as well. So I mainly focus on performers. So I don't think I'll ever leave I'm sure I'll leave the industry at some point. But for now, I can absolutely do both. And I'm really, really enjoying doing both as well.
Okay, amazing. I was also really curious, coming from the north, do you feel like, do you feel like you still have to like move to London, to pursue like a successful career in musical theatre?
Great question. And I think if we've learned anything over the last 3 to 5 years, the answer is no. When I was growing up, there wasn't very much opportunity, especially in Middlesbrough, especially for the things that I wanted to do. So I felt like the only option was to either move to America or move to London. America wasn't an option. London was hard enough, especially growing up in Middlesbrough, not a lot of money and stuff like that. So it was difficult to kind of make that move. Got a scholarship at Mount View, which helped a bunch. Ended up moving to London, cut to the pandemic, and everything started to move online very, very, very quickly. I actually now live up north permanently, back up in Middlesbrough, and all of my auditions that I do are via Zoom or self-tape. And if I need to come down, if there's a final or anything, of course I'll come down for that. And if I get into a West End show or anything, then obviously I'll move down for that contract. But for now, I'm really, really happy living back up north and commuting if and when I need to. I'll either drive, I'll take the train, or if the train strikes, I'll have to get the bus or whatnot. But that's absolutely fine because I did that for much of my time whilst I was at Mount View, constantly living out of the megabus. But yeah, I don't think that you need to move to London. I think you will need to spend some time in London, but a lot of it now can be done just like this, much like we're doing right now. Because I do feel like, you can build rapport with casting directors like this, with agents, with connections in London. And obviously, like I said, if it's for an agent meeting, I get all of my members to book a call immediately like this, just to try and get into tight rapport with them, see if they're a good fit for each other. And then if they want to meet them in person, then they can carve some time out of the day and they can schedule a meetup. But usually they just offer them off the back of a call. I think technology, I think we should be absolutely using technology to our advantage because it's with us. And I feel like that's the way the industry is going to go.
Just one last question.
Sure.
What do you most want to be remembered for?
Wow, this is a deep question. I want to be remembered for making a difference in thousands of people's lives for the better. Here's the thing, it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, whether you have inherited millions or you're seriously broke and poor. If you have a passion and you have a dream, it'll always just stay a passion and a dream if you don't take massive action. And I think the reason why I'm here on this earth is to perform, is to tell stories, but also as well, my calling is to help people into the industry. It really is. I honestly, I get such a buzz from it. And if I can help anyone do that, and anyone who's listening right now, a dream will always stay a dream if you just let it. You have to take huge action. So that's what I'd like to be remembered for.
Very inspiring stuff. Dean John Wilson, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Carlos.